Hello! Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly, the very first of 2022. Isn't that exciting? We've got Dual Life Perspective Part 2 for 2021, as well as predictions for 2022 to get through today. Should be a lot of fun. I think I'm going to follow the same format I did last time I did Dual Life Perspective in July, where I will go through the games first, then I will go into the reel as a little refresher. Dual Life Perspective as I talk about my real and my virtual lives. So the virtual is the games I played, the real is what's actually been going on in my life. And it's going to be interesting looking back. I just kind of recapped what I talked about in July, so I don't repeat on it too much. But there's some stuff here that kind of suggests some of the things I'm going to be talking about. Let's go ahead and get going into the games. So July, I actually got through 6 games, which is pretty impressive for me. I don't think that I tend to go through that, but a couple of them were specifically because of Femtendo. I needed to get ending shots for Peach, so I went through Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 3 in the fastest way possible to get to the end of the game. Many of the screenshots in Femtendo that I could get on the Switch, that's where they came from, was from me running through games really quick. So Super Mario Brothers, I went 1-1, 4-1, 8-1, and just kind of blitzed through it really quickly. I'm not the biggest fan of the original Super Mario Brothers, despite it being such like a foundational piece of my upbringing with video games. It was the first one I had on my NES along with Duck Hunt. So it's got a lot of nostalgia, but in terms of how it plays, it's not really my favorite. The sequel, Mario 3, happens to be my favorite 2D Mario, so that was fun, but I grabbed 2 whistles and zipped my way to Darkland, which is probably the least fun of the worlds to run through. But I did it pretty quick, and I got to Bowser, and I beat Bowser, and got the screenshot I needed. So I'd like to actually sit down and play through the stages I like to play in Mario 3 in the near future. Another game that I needed to get screenshots for was Metroid. I didn't play this Famicom Disk System version of it, but I played it on the Japanese Switch app. And that was interesting because it's a little different. Like, the music is a little different, and just there's things about it that feel a little different. So it was kind of neat to play it through on the disc system. Plus, you had to load. It was load times. The original Metroid's still a good game. I think that its sequels definitely improve upon it tremendously. But for a foundational work, I think it's fantastic. The other 3 games I played are all retro as well. We had 2 beat-em-ups in Zero Team and Vendetta, and then a shoot-em-up with Blazing Star. Of those 3, Vendetta's easily the worst. It was a contender for my least favorite game of the year, as well as one I was really disappointed in, because I really like Konami's beat-em-ups, and this particular one was just rough. It was rough around the edges. It wasn't super fun to play. The controls were kind of weird. The enemies were really brutal. Just not a good time. Zero Team, on the other hand, was a really fun beat 'em up, and I really wish that the one woman on the roster was wearing more than a thong, basically. But beyond the sexism, the game was a lot of fun. Actually, the combat was really engaging in that game, and it looks nice outside of that one problem. And the difficulty wasn't too much, so that was a good time. Blazing Star is a really good shoot 'em up. I enjoyed that quite a bit, but unfortunately, it's 5 months on. I don't remember a ton about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say that I enjoyed it when I played it. In August, we had Aria of Spirits, which ended up being my second favorite game of the year overall. So that's pretty cool. It's always nice to see an indie game climb that high up on the list. Part of that is because I didn't play a lot for 2021, but that's beside the point. I thought it was very charming. Outside of some little control things and it being a little bit on the short side, I liked it quite a bit. So I highly recommend checking it out. It's not that expensive to pick up on the Switch. September, I didn't get through anything. October, there was 2. I got through Metroid Dread and Lancer, both of which won big in my awards. Dread won Game of the Year, and I just have talked so much about it that I'll just keep it short and say that it's a top 10 game for me. Second favorite Metroid of all time. I loved playing Metroid Dread. It was a delightful obsession that really helped me get through October, which tends to be kind of a rough month for me emotionally. And I got 100% on it, and I was very proud of myself for doing that because it's hard. But it has good checkpointing, which makes playing hard games more fun for me. Lancer ended up being my surprise of the year, and it's really good. I have always heard good things about it. It was never really released in America until the Wii Virtual Console, if I remember right. But I didn't get it then because it was like deluxe pricing, and I just had heard good things, and I wasn't really into shoot 'em ups as much when the Wii was a thing. But I'm enjoying them more now, and the port work is spectacular. It's got a rewind feature, which I greatly enjoy, and just had a really good time with that game. Just a delight all the way around. I recommend it. It's not that expensive to get on the Switch. November was a pretty busy month. I had 3 games. I had Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, which I beat on normal difficulty on the Wii U Virtual Console. I decided I wanted to start fresh, and I wanted to buy... Since I bought the Wii U version like 2 months before they announced Advanced Collection, I felt like I would hold on that until Limited Run inevitably announces a physical of it, and get that instead, and then I would just play Aria on the Wii U since I already bought it. So I did that, and I got all the map, I got almost all the souls. I realized after the fact that Legions won't appear if you don't break all of its shell. So I'll have to New Game Plus that at some point to get that soul. But Aria of Sorrow is a top 10 game for me. I absolutely adore it. It's the best in the series. Controls the best. Just really engaging. Love it to pieces. I didn't rare item drop this time, but I could once I probably the next time I run through it, I'll do that. That's the type of connection I have with this game. I will waste time grinding to get stuff. I also got through Guy Noog, aka Wings of War, when it was originally localized. That game's fine. I was pretty okay on it. I wasn't as dynamic as Lancer ended up being, and just kind of got samey after a while, and had a really cheap final boss that I did not enjoy fighting against at all. But it was fine. I don't have any regrets about buying it. I want to support that type of thing because I want to see more. So it's just neat getting all these obscure Genesis shoot-em-ups. Last but not least, Mega Man 3. Absolute favorite of the series. It's in my top 15. Still love that game to pieces. I need to play it more often though, because I was a little... The thing is that I'm playing on the 3DS through that collection, and it's a little off. It's a little off from what I remember. And I don't remember having issues with it last time I played it, but I definitely did this time, and I think that there's just a little bit of input delay, just the tiniest bit, and as someone who played it like obsessively when I was a child, it's kind of ingrained in my head. So I died a few more times than I think I would if I was playing it on the original hardware, but I don't care. I was having a grand time anyway. So, last but not least, we come to December, and I had been trying all kinds of different stuff in December, but I finally got the Sam & Max Save the World HD collection on the Switch, and I decided to play through the first one to kind of get my feet back under me because I hadn't played that in a long time. When I was playing those on my PC, it was in the 2000s, not too far after they came out, maybe early 2010s. And I loved playing through the first few episodes, but then my disc ran out, so then I eventually got the Telltale collection through Humble Bumble at some point to get more of them, and then I played through 4 and 5 around that time. But then I stopped. I didn't get through 6, and then so I finally got through 6 on the Switch. I still like these games. I still think they're great. And the overhaul to the visuals is spectacular. I like the new music and the new intro. The new voice actor for Bosco took a little bit to get used to, but at the very least, it's correct with the ethnicity of the character now. They got a black man to play the character that's a black man versus having a white man do it, so that's better. That's an improvement. The biggest thing with Sam & Max is that its writing is definitely of its era, and there's stuff in there that just kind of, like, where I'm at now in 2021, mentally and emotionally, it's not the same anymore. So it doesn't land as funny. It just kind of lands as, like, obnoxious or crass or at times sexist. And the ultimate villain is Hugh Bliss, who is kind of like a gay stereotype in a lot of ways, so it's kind of not great. So while I enjoy the games and I think that they're fine and good and all that, they're definitely a product of their time, and I'm gonna probably just be content calling it with the first 6 episodes and not really getting into the other 2 sets. Maybe I'll try them on my PC since I have them through Steam, but I think I'll hold off and hope that a new game comes out that is a little bit more contemporary in terms of writing and theming and all of that. But that's the 15 games I got through for the second half of 2021. So let's take a little pause here, and we'll have a cat intermission, and then we'll jump into the reel. Welcome back. I decided to film this the same way I filmed this last time. Not too much has drastically changed about the setup. I just rearranged this again. I move that stuff around all the time. And there's a Secret of Mana poster now over there. But I think otherwise it's about the same since you last saw it. 2021 has been an interesting year. I guess I'll just focus on getting the hard part out of the way first. COVID still sucks. It's still a thing, and it's still affecting my life in ways that I wish it wasn't. I still don't feel super comfortable being outside. I don't like having to go to the office for work. I don't like having to go shopping. I don't do things outside like I used to. And that has continued to be a thing that in 2022 I'm hoping I can get over and be more comfortable. That would be really nice. I miss being able to just walk around comfortably outside and not having to worry about people. Thankfully, I'm in a little bit of a space where, at least where I work, people are complying with all of the things. that they should be doing related to COVID. So at the very least, I have that going for me. But on the whole, it still sucks having to feel compressed into this space and being paranoid. It's not fun. I don't like it. I would really prefer to not have to feel that anymore. I am trying to be more engaged with doing some things outdoors. I do go to a monthly moon meditation, which is really great. It's been wonderful to help me reset. For a while, I was doing yoga in the park, and that was really nice. I have gone out to see a couple movies. That's been nice. I went and saw Spider-Man. Found a little spot by myself. Worked out great. In some ways, I'm getting more comfortable. And then we have new variants, which is just making all of that, like, growing and getting more comfortable, more challenging. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. Work has been really busy. I am getting reclassed, so I will be getting a promotion, which is great. I'm very excited about that. Did a bunch of big events for my job and got a lot of compliments on those, which makes me feel really good that I'm putting in good work. There's some that I'm getting ready to plan for next year that I don't really know how that's going to go. So that will be interesting to see where, to see if I'm going to be doing some of those things and how I'm going to be doing some of those things. But yeah, work's been fine. So I got 3 books done since we last talked. I talked about Evolve briefly. This is the proof that I mentioned in that last Dual Life Perspective. I think I'm going to just retain this as the book and not order the actual copy, because I don't mind that much having this not for resale on here, because I'm okay with it. But the book turned out great. It's a really good showpiece of my art evolution, which is why I called it Evolve. I love the cover. I love the art inside of it. This was a really fun thing to do. I'm really glad that it's out there. And then I've got the big one, Femtendo, 83 to 86, Pride and Joy. I still need to do a proper video on this. I haven't had the energy to do it, but I'm going to try to do that this weekend, and that'll come up as its own thing and won't be a part of Levels Plus Weekly. This book looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing on the inside. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. There was only a couple little things that were a little bit off on the initial printing, which I'll talk about when I get into this. But just like flipping through this just makes me so happy. Like, I'm so stoked about this book. And I've got a lot of work into 87 going. The goal is to have 87 out in November. I just need, I think, six more carts. I've got most of what I need now, which is awesome. I published another book. I don't have it yet. I'm waiting for January to roll around in my credit card to add points onto it, and then I'm going to develop my black and white photo book, which I released in November. And that's a really cool book. My parents happen to have a copy because they're wonderful parents who buy my books the moment I publish them. So thank you. So I got to look at it when I was visiting them this last weekend, and it turned out great. Some of the old photos I realized are really fuzzy, but that's just because of the quality of scanning back in 2004 when I did them. Things have gotten a lot better. And then Isolate. I talked about Isolate last time. I did get some work done on it, but it's still a work in progress. But I really want to get something of Isolate outside of this featuring Isolate artwork out in 2022. The art that I've been doing for it has been great. In terms of art, since we were talking about it, the second half was a little bit rough. A little rough on the art front. I did do some nice stuff following Evolve's publication, but kind of like following Evolve's publication. But I do have some plans to get back into things in 2022 outside of Isolate. I want to get So This Webcomic moving a little bit more regularly again. And I was thinking about doing some fan art, doing like 1 or 2 pieces of fan art each month. I think that might be fun. Kind of engaging to do. I'm going to read more in 2022 too. I've just been terrible at reading books. And I have so many in this house. There's a ton over there. There's a ton in my library. I collect these things. I should be reading them, you know? So in terms of other things, cats are doing good. They're both awake right now and kind of wandering around. So they might wander into the shot at some point. I need to get a new PC. I want to get a PC that is more capable of handling content creation, the books, because Adobe's just a resource hog. Better video editing, possibly streaming. That could be fun, or at least being able to record video game content so I could maybe do like Let's Plays. That's something I wanted to try out. So that's something I'm looking into for 2022. In terms of my self-care and health and all that stuff, I've made some really good strides. I feel like I'm opening up in a lot of ways. I feel like I'm becoming myself in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. I think that it will show if you watch Levels Plus Weekly at the beginning of the show to now. I think that I'm a lot more loose than I used to be, and I'm having a lot more fun doing this and getting engaged and just being emotional and allowing that emotion to exist. The realization about my anxiety that I talked about last time has been big. I've been able to realize when it's happening and to manage it a lot better. Same deal with depression. One thing that I need to continue to work on is self-care in a meditation sense, getting into the habit of doing it every day. It's been hard because I've been wanting to do stuff on my vacation, and when I was on break with my parents, I didn't do it at all because I didn't have a good space. I need to take that time and remember how important that is for me, that I like doing it. Another thing is getting out for walks and meditating that way, getting out of the house more often, and not just for work, not just for chores, but to actually go do something outside for fun. It's hard for me to do that, and it dials back to the COVID discussion earlier. I want to spend less in 2022. I want to be more okay with not having stuff. That's hard for me. I'm a very material person. I like having stuff. So I'm going to try to not get so many things right off the get-go. And I'm going to try to not just throw money at like limited edition stuff. As hard as that sounds for me. I want to put my money into other things. I want to continue putting it into Femtendo and continuing to get that stuff, start thinking about Culture Clash, and then being okay with letting it go, being okay with letting stuff out of my hands that I'm not interested in retaining. With Femtendo, like a lot of that stuff I think is really cool. So like, or I want to actually like get a Famicom and play it and try it out before I decide I want to get rid of it. I've gotten rid of a fair amount of stuff already, but there's some more that I think I could probably work down next time I go out to Gamers in Control. See what happens in that front. So that's another thing I'm trying to kind of get into my head is less stuff, be okay with less. And it's kind of the antithesis of how I've lived for so long. But I'm going to try. I'm going to see how it goes. But yeah, I'm just feeling like it's time for me to pare down a bit. And I've been doing a bit of that with just some outside of games stuff. I got rid of quite a few books and just stuff I don't need around the house. And I'm in the middle of doing that again on a smaller scale. I had like 100 clothes hangers. I don't know why. They were just there in my closet. There's no reason for me to keep that many. So those will be donating at some point. 2021 had a lot of growth, a lot of change. Some of my best friends moved, and I've been kind of dealing with that physical loss, even though I still talk to them. In fact, my best friend, she moved, and like our friendship had actually gotten better because we're talking so much now. And got a visit that I'm going to be planning to visit her in March. So that will be really exciting to see her in her new place and all of that fun stuff, getting to hang out. My best friends also was my yoga instructor, so that's a part of why yoga in the park kind of stopped, is that I just really like the way she teaches, and nobody else that I've gone to has quite matched that. And I kind of have to either get over it or find my own way of moving forward with doing yoga, because not doing it has not been beneficial to me anyway. But you know, it's been a really crucial year for me to be okay with who I am, and the last 6 months I think has just kind of really solidified that, and I've become myself more and more as each day moves on, and more accepting, more understanding, less expectations, less sense of that I'm disappointing people, less perfectionism, just trusting myself, accepting myself, and liberating myself from my past, and being present, being here in the moment, absolutely critical. So I can't say that in the grand scheme of things that 2021's been a bad year. The loss of my cousin, my grandfather's health declining, those are things that have been a factor, but I've tried to allow myself to feel what those feelings are and work through them and become stronger through that process, and I'm really proud of myself. Like these books, my healing, my acceptance, all of these are awesome things, and every video I make is awesome. Everything I write is awesome. Every piece of art that I do is awesome. Like, just having that positivity is so important for me. So I feel like 2022 is going to be a good year. I'm hoping that we can continue to get this COVID under control as a society. I hope that our political structure doesn't completely collapse, because it's not great. I didn't want to really get into that in this video, but I'm over having both of these political parties as the dominant forces in American politics, because they both suck in different ways, and I am just over politics so much at this point. It's just absolute garbage. So that's going to be my piece on that. And I've been actually trying to end this video and doing a very poor job. So let's just end. Something that's hard for me to do sometimes is to know when to stop. So I'm stopping. Thank you for joining me for a dual life perspective. I hope that you enjoyed hearing me talk about the games and what's been going on in my life. We're going to transition again with some more cat intermission, and then we've got predictions for 2022 to knock out. get to the predictions. I wrote them out this time because last year I did it off the top of my head and it was really clunky. And I don't want to repeat that. So I've got 10 for Nintendo and 10 for everybody else because I care more. Actually, more like 12. I think it's more like 12. Because generally speaking, there's enough Nintendo stuff, and that's who I tend to follow is Nintendo. So let's get through theirs first. So I think Metroid Prime 4 will finally be shown. Yay! Celebration down the streets. And I think there will be some sort of HD Metroid Prime thing. The current rumor is that it's just Metroid Prime 1, which I would be fine with because Echoes is good, but not as good, and I don't like corruption at all, and they'd have to do a lot of work on that to make it not have motion controls. So I would be down with just Metroid Prime 1 getting an HD remake to be kind of a teaser for what they're doing with 4. So I'm cool with that. I think we're going to get a new Fire Emblem project in 2022, but I don't think it's going to be a new game or a continuation of Three Houses. I think it's going to be a remake. And I have a sense that it's either going to be Genealogy of the Holy War or it's going to be Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. Either one of those, I think, will be what gets the remake treatment. It's not going to be by like I think it's going to be kind of like Echoes, where it'll have the Echoes branding, and it'll probably be like Genealogy of the Holy War or Path of Radiance or whatever. But we're due for something new from Fire Emblem. It's been a couple years, so I think we'll see something, and I think it's going to be a remake. Switch Online app will add the Game Boy, but in a pleasant surprise, Nintendo will not disappoint. They'll actually do Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance all at once. I think what they'll do is they'll do the Game Boy, Game Boy Color on the regular, and they'll do Game Boy Advance on the expansion pack. Yay. Because now we have that to deal with. I think we'll get a new mainline Mario game that we haven't had announced yet. I think that will be a thing that will happen. It'll be kind of like the end cap for the original Switch. I think that Xenoblade Chronicles X will get ported. I'm sure Monolith Soft is working on something new, but given what they do, they're probably prepping Xenoblade Chronicles 3 for the next system, I'm going to guess. So I think we'll get X as a concession. This is so pipe dream that I don't expect it to happen. But I would love to see The Last Story get a port to the Switch. Mistwalkers basically poo-pooed that, but I really would like to see it. I do think that we'll finally get a confirmation on a Switch 2, Switch Pro, whatever you want to call the next iteration of hardware, in 2022, but it won't be ready until the next year. I think we're due. I think that the Switch is definitely starting to show signs of its age. And while we're getting incredible stuff still, I mean, if we look at like Metroid Dread, it's one of the better looking games on the system, and it didn't really chug. We're starting to see it more in third-party stuff, that the effort's just not being put in there as much as it was at the beginning to make things look nice and run well. Grand Theft Auto Definitive Edition, for example. So I think that the Switch 2 is on its way. I don't really want to admit that, because that just means another $200 to $300 out of my pocket that has to go into a new thing to keep playing games. But I think it'll happen. I also think there will be some random piece of retro hardware announced. They've been doing Game & Watches for a bit now, for Mario and Zelda. So I think they'll probably do something along that line for Donkey Kong. Because I think technically it was the 40-year anniversary this year, but with Zelda on having their time in the sun, I think we'll probably get a Donkey Kong anniversary thing maybe next year, and we'll get like the arcade games in Donkey Kong 94 or something like that, as a Game & Watch. It'd be neat if they actually made the Game & Watch Donkey Kong be something, but they don't seem to want to do that. So, last but not least, I think that we'll finally get something new on Earthbound. I think we'll get Beginnings and Earthbound sold on the eShop instead of having um, a Switch Online edition of those games, because that just seems to be how Nintendo handles Earthbound. I think I've commented on that before on Levels Plus Weekly, that they consider it a premium to re-release those. So I think that they will get re-announced. I would love it if Nintendo Life's wild prediction of... Actually, no. Yeah, Nintendo Life was thinking something might be happening. And then Arlo also thought something might be happening with a brand new Earthbound game, which would be made by the team that did Link's Awakening, which would be rad because that graphic style is perfect. But we'll have to see if that actually comes to pass. So that's my Nintendo predictions. Let's do everybody else real quick. So I think that Capcom and SNK, following SNK vs. Capcom Match of the Millennium, are going to reunite and do some sort of Capcom vs. SNK compilation for the bigger games. Hey, fan. So that would be Capcom vs. SNK, Capcom vs. SNK Pro, Capcom vs. SNK 2, and SNK vs. Capcom Chaos, I think was what they called that, as a set. And then I think that SNK will get Card Fighters Clash out onto the Neo Geo Pocket series. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great to see all of those games again? I don't know if it will translate to a Capcom vs. SNK 3 or 2022 or whatever they would call it, but I think it would be great if they did that. It'd make a lot of people happy. King of Fighters 15 comes out in February, and I think they're going to do what they did with Sam's Show 2019 and release it on the Switch in a downgraded port that will come out later in the year, but it will still be really technically impressive that it looks as good as it does, because they did a good job with Samurai Showdown. I think Konami's going to announce a new Castlevania game, and it's going to look like crap. It's going to look so bad. If we learned anything from Contra Rogue Core, is that Konami is more than happy to trod its fabled franchises in the mud for some reason. And while I just they are doing well with comps, and I would love it if they just stuck with that and maybe get like indie devs to work on their stuff, like Gemafuma Den. That looks pretty promising. But they're going to do that, and they're going to do this Castlevania game Eternal, and it's going to look like garbage. I'm afraid that's going to happen. I think we're going to get Persona 3 Portable on the Switch, and then we're going to get Persona 4 Golden, but we're not going to hear anything about 5. And I think we're going to get 3 early and 4 later. I think that it's just going to be that way. It's going to be that way. For whatever reason, Atlas is not wanting to put 5 on the Switch. They're going to just continue to dance around it by putting everything else on there instead. We have proof in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax coming to Switch, following Persona 5 Strikers. We're going to get the old games before we get 5. And it'll probably just be 5 and not Royal, because that's just how they're going. But anyway, back to Capcom. I think Marvel vs. Capcom is going to be revived somehow. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a new game. I think it'll either be a collection of like Marvel vs. Capcom 1, 2, and maybe Ultimate 3. Ideally, it would be everything that Capcom's done with Marvel. So that would be like the Punisher, the Super Nintendo games, X-Men: Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, and the X vs. Street Fighter, all the way up to Ultimate Marvel 3. That would be amazing. That would be asking too much. That would be asking too much. If anything, it'll probably be X-Men: Children of the Atom through Marvel vs. Capcom 1, and then they would sell Marvel vs. Capcom 2 separately, because they can. They would be able to do that. But somehow it'll be revived. I don't think it'll be a new game. I don't think Infinite's coming back. I think that it will just be something in terms of the old stuff. Speaking of retro revivals, I think that Pocky and Rocky 1 and 2 will be revived as a cart reprint through Limited Run or through Strictly Limited to coincide with Reshrined, which will have a collector's edition with one of those companies. And I'm thinking it's going to be Strictly Limited because they've been doing more with Natsume lately. I want Skies of Arcadia HD to finally be real. we're getting like all these little teases from former staff about stuff, and we're seeing like music boxes and CDs and vinyl, figures. Ike has got a new figure from First 4 coming out in a month. We're seeing Skies of Arcadia merch. So let's actually see the game come back. Sega, please. I think Square Enix is going to be doing a lot of retro stuff. I think we're going to finally get Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross. I don't know how they're going to do that, but I think that they're going to be re-released somehow. I think those pixel remasters for Final Fantasy are finally going to come to console. And I think that there's going to be a proper Enix compilation, and they're going to start with the Quintet games on the Super Nintendo. So that would be the 2 ActRaisers, Soul Blazer, Illusion of Gaia, and Terranigma. I think that will be a thing that they actually do. Wouldn't that be awesome? That would make me so happy. DNF Duel is very impressive looking. I've been watching people play that, and it looks fun. It looks so fun. I'm enthused by it, even though it's not coming to anything I currently own. But I think it's going to be the blowout surprise of the year. I think people are going to get really engaged with that game on a level that they would not expect. I think it's going to be a surprise. Last but not least, as I always wish, I want Nomada Studio to show what they've been working on since Gris. I'm sure that it's been a long time making. Gris came out in 2018, so we're coming on 4 years. And knowing how much work went into Gris to make it look as beautiful as it does, I'm sure that the time has been well spent, and it's going to be a gorgeous looking game, whatever it is. But I just would love to see it. We're going to jump into something fun for me, because it's going to be my birthday weekend next weekend. Close enough. It's going to be the 8th. My birthday is the 11th. So we'll be doing something very personal for me next week. I'm not going to tell you what it is, though. It's going to be a surprise, so look forward to it. Until then, my dear friends, wish you a happy new year for 2022. I'm feeling good about this year. I feel a lot of positivity. I feel a lot of growth coming up in 2022. I feel like it's going to be a good time for me to get more of my stuff out there into the world and doing some different things. So I'm feeling really good about it. So hard to believe that this year is done. I'm recording this on the 31st. And that we got a bright, shiny new year in front of us. It's gonna be good. I'm feeling good things. So until next week, take care.